Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Dragon Age Season 3 campaign, also known as Dragon Age Ascension. This is session number 2. We're only just hitting the tip of the iceberg of this story. We are actually not completely done with the origin stories yet. The last session was just a taste of the origins for each of these characters, and we're moving on to the next section. But before we do that, we're going to do another warm-up question. And for today's warm-up question, I'd like for you guys to just think about up to this point in your lives. And when I say up to this point, I mean by present time. The present time is 9:49. Dragon Age Season 1 was 9:32. Dragon Age Season 2 was 9:38. So we are in 9:49. So approximately
11 years from Season 2.
Yeah, 17.
11 years from the start of Season 2, 10 years from the end.
From the end.
10 years from the end of Season 2.
It's not even 2 decades. It's tiny.
What would you say, by this point in your characters' lives, would be your biggest regret?
So the obvious is killing his family. But because he wasn't actually under his own control at the time, it's not so much a regret. So I think it would actually be not getting the hell out of Dodge if he could have had the chance.
Mm-hmm.
To either at some point try to actually get his family or his wife out without him or with him, just staying with his master until the bitter end, which caused their death. So I think his biggest regret would be, and I bet you he probably had a bunch of chances when he was given more leeway. So in any of those chances, besides the one that we saw in session 1, not taking that opportunity to help get his loved ones away.
I guess Leon's biggest regret is being powerless to help his parents when they were raided by Templars, and then later on feeling sympathy for the Templars, over justification of killing his parents, and then that turns into shame of his parents and his background, but he hates himself for dismissing his parents like that. But also, now he's been taught about the Templars, and the regret of which one is the correct choice, his parents or the Templars.
While Pasha really regrets what happened with Dandelion, I think her biggest regret is how that then affected her and her relationships with other people, because I think she lost very meaningful friendships to her because she was so busy kind of wallowing in her guilt that at the time she didn't realize I'm pushing everyone away, when in actual fact maybe I should be trying to get help. And I think she regrets that.
I feel that Russo's biggest regret up until the beginning of the campaign was that he never really developed a spine of his own up until he was absolutely forced to. So his whole life he was living in other people's shadows, and it pretty much costed him dearly at multiple points in his life. And because he lacked that spine, it led to a whole bunch of other things. The most obvious one that we've seen was he was too scared to really move up to the dark spawn in session 1, and that probably costed him his mom more than anything else, because he felt too scared to really do much of anything in that situation. And I think because he waited so long to build confidence and become his own person, that's his biggest and deepest regret.
Yeah, I have been thinking about this because this is a very hard one for him. But I don't know if but before I even answer, I do have one question for you. Did we ever establish what happened to Tyrion's mother? Actually,
We never established it.
We never established.
I'm pretty flexible if you have an idea.
So the one regret probably that he could have done was the biggest regret probably was not helping his mother, because she's by this age probably she'd be dead. Because probably around the time we had that carriage talk, she might have died recently. So I think the bigger regret would have been him, not being with her. But I think the more bigger regret probably would be him running away rather than going against Amarin, because he ran away to essentially run away from the life that he was suffering a lot from the just being controlled by this one essentially asshole of a person. And he kind of regrets that he should have dealt something. He should have given them at least a bit of a payback, maybe, just for so nothing bad would happen to him and anyone else who might have been there at the estate that he was in. So I think that's a bigger reserve, just running away rather than just tackling it, probably. So.
Awesome. Great answers, guys. Thank you. All right. Well, let's dive right in again. So, as before, everyone, roll initiative.
Oh, God.
So we're going to start once again with Dartham. So, if we're following along with the backstory that you gave me, Dominic, Dartham ends up rescuing Verania somehow. The deal was you were going to serve your master, and somehow in an exchange he was not going to touch your family. I think that was the agreement.
Right, yeah.
And so you found a loophole by somehow finding a way to marry Verania. And that way Verania ends up becoming a part of your family, which means technically he can't touch her because the agreement was he wasn't going to touch him in your family.
Right.
And so normally some masters would have been like, no.
Yeah.
Do that. However, again, according to your backstory, this was like the one thing that he let slide, your master slide.
Yeah. It's like in 6 some odd or however many years of service you have done my bidding and horrible things, I will let you have this one thing.
One thing. Yes. So with the scene will open up and you will, I think it makes a lot of sense that maybe Baum was the one who did the ritual or whatever it was that officially married you or something. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how you envisioned it happening.
Yeah, probably because of the setup last time. I had been thinking of all these convoluted things, and maybe it was actually Verania who recommended it.
Perhaps that was it.
So I went to her and said, "Hey, we could do this whole crazy thing where Baum tries to kill you," and then she's like, "Just marry me."
That works. How romantic.
Just marry me, asshole.
So the scene will open up, and you actually are bringing Verania. It's the end of the day, so it's the end of the duties, and you are bringing Verania back home to introduce her to your family.
Got it.
Because your family doesn't know, hey, I just got hitched by this woman you've never met before. So
yeah.
Where do you envision your family lives? They don't live with your master, do they?
No.
So,
they basically live in the slums, but they actually have I imagine a kind of an apartment. If you remember in Dragon Age Origins, kind of the small house that I forget the last name, but that your city elf starts in. Thank you. That Tabra starts in, kind of that dingy hut that's acceptable at a bare minimum.
Okay. So I'm envisioning your father's probably a blue collar kind of person who works with his hands somewhere, and maybe your mother takes care of your sister. So as you guys are journeying home, Verania is going to ask, so I can't believe that actually worked. Are you sure that your master's just not playing you for a fool?
No. I don't think he is. I've served him for near 4 or 5 years now, so I suppose he let this one little rebellion slide.
You really don't think that he is somehow going to have this come back at you in some way? That he won't retaliate in some form, even if it's just little tiny things here and there?
He probably will. I have no doubts the beatings will increase, and most likely I'll be given more gruesome tasks.
I admit, when I recommended it the first time, I was half joking. But
It worked.
for now. And if it doesn't, if things end up getting worse for you, then maybe we'll just have to escape.
Ronnie, I can't tell you how many times I've wished that, but it's Minrathos. This is the capital. Even if we could, where would we run to? There's no greater power than the Imperium in all of Thedas.
We can maybe make our way back to Arlathan.
It's ruined. It's been ruined for hundreds of years now.
I can't believe that, though. There must be some of us left there, hiding somewhere. I don't know. Maybe they went underground.
Underground with the dwarves.
I know it sounds crazy, but like you said, desperate times, desperate measures. It's not like they can, I don't know, suddenly build themselves houses up in trees or anything and hope that nobody sees them.
Could you imagine people living in trees?
Well, these days, there are a lot of things that I have seen that I couldn't even imagine these days. Very, very awful things.
And you only had to see them for a few months.
She looks at you and, she sort of gives you a very concerned look, and she sort of, grabs a hold of your hand and just gives it a squeeze.
And Dartham will look down a little startled, but will give a squeeze in response and smile at her.
Tell me about your family. What should I know? Who should I compliment more?
Well, my father, Atralan, he works just labor mostly. It keeps him busy. He's often stressed, so he's the one you can compliment. As for my mother, Iowa, she is definitely more calm, I suppose. Though, be ready for a bundle of energy that is my little sister. Saris is almost always excited.
Really? How old is she?
She's... she was born about the same time I worked for my master. I think 4 or 5 now.
What are kinds of things is she into? What does she like to play usually?
Well, she has a small set of dolls. She likes to play a little bit of house. She always loves running out and climbing on the trees we have. And she also she likes to pretend to be a princess at some points.
How do you think he'll react to me? I mean...
Oh, she'll love you. She's always wanting to play with the other children, but I try to encourage Mother to keep that to a minimum. I don't want Master to have any justification for further harm.
At this, you guys will finally arrive at the house. What do you do?
So going in, it probably like the door. It's made of wood, but it's maybe slightly slanted. It wasn't really constructed that well. The nails are maybe a little rusted. So there's probably like a lock on the inside, like more just a bar that we put into the door. So I would just knock relatively loudly, trying to get through the duller sound and inform Mother that I am home.
Okay. You'll knock, and you'll hear a small voice shortly after call out, "Come in!"
And going in, I would. There's probably a little gap in the door that only me and my family know of, so I would like take out not a dagger, but like some small piece of wood, slide it in, lift it up so that I can get the bar from the outside, and then open the door.
Okay. You'll open the door. You can actually smell some spice in the air, mild spice in the air. Perhaps somebody is cooking or was cooking. And over by the fire, you actually see this young girl playing. She's got like a little tea set. She's having like a little tea party, and she's got her dolls around her. And as soon as she sees you walk through, your sister Saris is how you pronounce her name?
Yes.
Your sister Saris, there's this big giant smile across her face, and she says, "Big brother, you're home!"
Hey, little one, and he goes down on one knee and holds out his arms for the incoming bullet that is his little sister.
Yeah. She rushes up to you and she gives you a tight squeeze.
Did you have a good day?
"I did," she says. "You're just in time. Do you want to have some tea?"
Oh, I'd love to. I always think you make the best tea.
She rushes over and she goes over to maybe like one of the couches that you have. Like she grabs a hold of this veil-looking thing, and she goes over to Dareth and she proceeds to place this veil on your head.
Oh, am I being hidden from something?
"No, Mrs. Nesbit, this is your hat."
Oh, well, I am so sorry. I always confuse my hat for a bit of cloth. But please, little one, can you lead me to where my wonderful tea is?
"Yes, of course, Mrs. Nesbit. Oh, and who is this? Is this your husband?" she says, turning to Verania.
And Dareth will like hold in his laughter and just look up to Ronnie and just like nod. Right along.
Verania takes her finger. Yes, I am her husband," she says, and like every time, for whatever reason, every time she speaks, like her mustache finger just wriggles a little bit.
Yes, this is my husband, Mr.
Butch. My name is Butch.
Mr. Butch.
Yes. I don't know. I've never had tea before.
Oh, I've always told you, Mr. Butch, it's the most best fantastic tea anyone can ever have.
"Well, if you say so, honey," Verania says, again in a very scruff voice.
And I'm barely keeping the smile off my face, seeing already the interaction.
Saris just chuckles, and she says, "Oh, Mr. Butch, you're so funny. Here, why don't you sit over here? Can I take your coat?" And Verania says, "Oh, yes, sure." And I mean, I think she was wearing like some sort of...
Yeah, and if she wasn't, I will take off my own coat, put it on her so she can take it off.
And so she starts pulls your tea and says, "So, Mrs. Nesbit, how are the triplets doing?"
The triplets are doing fantastic. I'm glad you asked, Miss Saris. They are just growing up so fast. They might even catch up to your height soon.
"Oh my goodness," she says. "Oh, they're growing like weeds. I can't wait to meet them so I can continue spoiling them with tea and cookies and cakes."
They always say you make the best tea and the best cookies and the best cakes.
That's because I use a secret ingredient. Nutmeg.
And I like look to Mr. Butch like, oh my goodness, and really playing up.
Oh my goodness, I've never thought about using nutmeg. Oh, but am I allowed to hear that? I thought it was a secret. Oh, it's okay, Mr. Butch. A friend of Miss Nesbit's is a friend of mine, and a friend of mine can have all of the secrets.
You are too kind, Miss Saris, too kind, I always say.
So, Mrs. Nesbit, how's your job coming along?
Oh, it's a bit boring, as you know, but I'd say it's the best work, especially when I get to see this little princess every day. And I will bop her on the nose.
That's good, she says. Because the last time we talked, it sounded like your boss wasn't being very nice to you, Mrs. Nesbit.
Well, my boss can be a little mean at some points, but I always forget about it when I come home.
She'll smile and they'll continue playing. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to do with her while you guys were...
I would just continue, I would still try to include Varania and everything, but I would very much, when I'm here, I try to make sure Saris is having a good time, and I try to play with her and keep her happy, so I'd be mostly focusing on that.
All right. You guys are getting well into the latest gossip that Miss Saris is getting into. Something about how one of her female friends, I'm gonna say, borrowed somebody's sweater and then accidentally ripped it or something along those lines. When there's a knock on your door.
I would have barred the door after, so I will turn back quickly and say, "Oh, Miss Saris, excuse me, I must go get the door. One moment."
Oh, of course, Miss Nesbit. Mr. Butch, would you like some more tea? Oh, I would love more tea. Can I just have a little extra nutmeg in mine? I mean, secret ingredient? Yes, of course. And she'll continue pouring.
And then I'll get up and start to move back. I will stall just for a split second, just smiling, looking at my new wife and my little sister interacting. And then I will go back to the door and I'll probably just lift up the bar and say, "Yes, hello," and open the door.
You'll open the door, and it is the handler, the same handler that was with you back in last session.
Yeah.
And he says,
"Yes, sir."
"The master summons you."
"Of course, I will be imminent. Just give me one moment to grab my coat."
"I'll be outside."
I nod, and I won't bar the door, knowing that would be offensive, and I just let it close.
"Who is that, Mrs. Nesbit? Is it another guest? Do they want some tea?"
"Oh, I'm afraid not, Miss Saris. Mrs. Nesbit is being called away to work again."
Oh, but we haven't even had dinner yet.
"I know. I'll be sure to grab some of the leftovers when I come home again. Will that be enough?"
All right. Well, if you end up getting hungry, you know you can always stop here for a bite.
"I always remember, and I always will."
She'll smile at you, and Varania will go up to you, and she'll quietly speak to you so that Saris doesn't hear.
Yeah.
"What's going on?"
"Master's calling me. I don't know what for, but can't be late."
Wait, you don't think it has anything to do with the ritual, do you?
Whether it does or does not, it's not my concern. As long as it's not all of you, well, that's enough.
She'll grab a hold of your hands again, and she says, "I just can't help but feel a little guilty. I mean, the only reason that I'm not in there at that ritual is because of you, and I'm one of the lucky ones. Everybody else wasn't so lucky."
Well, we can't all be lucky, and I feel guilt every day, but we can at least enjoy what little bit of comfort we have. I love you.
she responds by coming in, and she clutches you close, and she gives you a bit of a squeeze before she gives you a kiss.
And I'll definitely respond, lingering a little bit before retracting, and then giving my sister another little hug, a kiss on the forehead before I grab my coat.
When you guys kiss, I will add that your sister gasps, and she says, "Oh, the scandal! The scandal!" She says, "Mrs. Rumproast will want to hear about this."
Oh, I'm sure she will. And I run over, ruffle her hair, give her a hug and a kiss on the forehead.
She'll say, "I hope that we get to see you again soon."
I'll be back before you know it.
She'll smile, give you one last hug, and you will be off. The handler will start taking you back to your master's estate. And even though it's still, it's evening, but it's still relatively early in the evening.
Right.
You can't help but notice that it's gotten a lot darker. Like, darker than it normally gets at this time of night.
Are there like any clouds coming over, or does it like seem more so?
See, that's the thing. It's the moon is out. It's bright, and there doesn't seem to be a cloud in the sky. Yet it just feels darker, or seems darker to you, almost like it's isolated within the city itself.
Well, I'll definitely note it, but probably put it at the back of my head as I keep my eyes down, stepping like 1 or 2 steps on the right-hand side of my handler.
The handler doesn't seem to notice the change in light, but you will enter into the estate, and you actually, your handler will actually lead you down to the lower depths, like even past beyond the dungeons. And when you get to there's this door that he takes you that you've never actually been to before, and he will take out a key because it's apparently been locked, and he will unlock it, and he will open the door, and you can hear voices down that are echoing into what seems to be a cavernous section of this part of Tevinter. And there's just something doesn't feel right. Like, something really doesn't feel right at all. You start to feel like pins and needles up and down your arm. And if you wouldn't think about it, you're not really sure if you imagine it, but it almost feels like one of the pins and needles like actually gets injected into your arm. Like you feel a slight pain, almost like a bee bite or something. And then it goes away.
I will like very not expecting it, will very slightly flinch, and I kind of look up, hearing the voices, feeling this like ominous dread go over, remembering what Verania said, and then I like hesitate. I open my mouth to say something, raising my eyes, and probably just as the moment I was about to say something, the handler starts walking, and then I just shut up and follow.
You start up for follow, and the voices start to get louder and a little bit louder, and it's strange because you can't quite make out what they're saying, but somehow, despite the fact that they keep getting louder and louder and louder, what they're saying doesn't become clearer. It becomes even more discombobulated.
Does it sound like a language that I don't understand, or just garble?
It sounds like a language that you don't understand, ultimately.
Okay.
Ultimately, it sounds like a language.
Does it sound similar to anything, or is it just foreign?
No. I feel like, no, it's just completely foreign. It's unlike any tongue that you've ever heard before. And you realize that the voices are not just speaking, it's singing. like a song in your head that you just can't get out of your head. And as this song continues to sort of like invade the innermost recesses of your brain, that's when you hear first a big explosion from the chasm, and this big, bright, greenish, dark light erupts before your eyes.
Just before the light hits him and whatever happens after happens, there's a moment in his head where he remembers again what Verania says. He remembers her and his sister interacting, and he hopes that the explosion doesn't go to them.
In addition to that, one of the last things that you remember, amongst other things that run through your head, is one of the last things that your sister said to you was, if you get hungry, you can always come back for a bite. And now I will end the scene there. I'm glad Callista caught that earlier. I dropped that line for a reason.
The setup is real.
Park, I love you!
Yay! Do I get bonus XP?
Yeah!
RP XP?
You get 1,000,000 bonus XP!
But bonus GM knowledge, is what you get.
Sam is next, right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Sam.
Sam, it is 9:39 Dragon. You are at home out in the Tirashan forest, and you're peacefully sleeping in bed when a commotion downstairs in your house wakes you up. It sounds like there's some voices that you don't recognize. You and your family have pretty much lived secluded in the Tirashan forest for as long as you can remember, as far back as you can remember. And you don't have guests over at your house that often. So this is really, really strange that you're hearing these strange voices downstairs. What's one of the most immediate things that you do when you are woken by this?
He's gonna be a little bleary-eyed because he's still a kid at this point, not quite understanding what's going on, and he's gonna sort of rub his eyes and think, are they having company over? Gee. So he's gonna.
At this point, I think you're around 8 years old, give or take.
Oh, okay. So he's gonna take. I'm gonna guess that he's got a stuffed animal.
Oh, like what kind of animal?
Let's go with a rabbit.
Oh, how sweet.
So,
okay.
So he's gonna take the rabbit by one of the hands, and then just sort of walk out of bed, and then slowly walk with the rabbit trailing behind him.
When you walk towards the door, just before you reach the handle, the door swings open, and in walks your mom. And she immediately shuts the door behind her. And in the brief moment that the door was open, you could clearly hear the voice of your father downstairs speaking to whoever it is. These people are down in the living room area. And your mom sees you out of bed and she says, "Leon, you're awake."
Do we have company?
She doesn't answer your question right away, but your mom has this mundane-looking book in her hands, and she immediately, almost like half shoves it, half gives you the book, and she takes a hold of your shoulders and she gets down to your level, physically down to your level, and she says, "Leon, I don't have time to explain, but you have to listen to me very carefully, all right? We've talked about this before. If there's other people here at this house, you need to hide."
Oh, okay. In the closet, right? Right next to the backpack?
Yes. So she actually, they actually had created this hiding space in your closet. So it's not like, it's like a secret panel that you can slide over.
It's like the Narnia wardrobe, except it's not the Narnia.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like the Narnia wardrobe. So it's an extra hiding space within your closet. And she says, all right, just like we practiced, just like we talked about, I need you to go into your special hiding place, and I need you to keep very, very quiet. No matter what happens, you stay absolutely quiet.
He's going to frown a bit because this is a lot more serious than he's usually seen his mother be, and go, oh, okay, I'll take Mr. Bunn with me.
Yes, take Mr. Bunn, protect him, and this book is very important, Leon. You need to protect this book.
Oh, okay, I'll put it in the backpack. So he trundles over to his closet, grabs the backpack, which I'm assuming is the emergency backpack right next to the hiding closet, and slides it open, looks back at his mom, gives like a little bye, and then goes into the closet.
Before you do, she'll give you a quick kiss on the forehead. We love you very much. Stay safe. Not a word, she says.
Okay.
The panel will slide back, and she will actually go over and shut the door behind her. You can hear her doing something in your room. I don't know if you can tell necessarily from behind the door what she's doing, but it's almost like furniture is being moved, which is very strange sounding for your mom to just decide to rearrange furniture in your room right at this moment. And then you can hear at least the door from your room into the hallway open and then shut again.
Is it like a nice shut, or is it like a slam?
It's a softer shut.
Oh, okay.
Like she didn't want anyone to notice that she was upstairs.
Alright, he's gonna hug his bun a little bit and then go.
The voices continue downstairs, and it starts to get more aggressive, the voices, and you suddenly hear the sounds of someone choking, gasping for breath, and then you hear shouts, and then you hear the sound of something toppling over with a crash, like a piece of furniture toppling over with a crash, and then you hear the sound of glass shattering. What do you do? Are you just gonna stay put? Like, what's happening?
Oh man, he really wants to go investigate because there's strange people in the house, but he remembered what his mom told him: be very silent and not do anything. But
Okay.
this new book that he was just given, he's gonna try to open it, maybe try to read
Okay. You'll open the book. Sam, you tell me what it looks like.
it. So it looks like it's just a small leather-bound book, very simple. And the first page is how to cook delicious meals.
How to cook delicious. So it's a cookbook.
Yeah, it's just a cookbook.
Great. Awesome. And it looks like it's probably, been around for a while.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
relatively old, you'd say. Okay. So I guess you would look through the cookbook, and maybe to help pass the time
Yeah.
as you're just waiting there to find out what's happening next. The noises downstairs continues. It sounds like more furniture is toppling over. You hear porcelain dishes maybe breaking. And then you start hearing yells and screams.
This is a lot more concerning to poor Leon. So he's going to put the book down and put it in the backpack, and then look at the bun. And in his mind, he's like, okay, Mr. Bun, what do you think is going on out there? And the bun's going to go like, oh, I don't know there, Leon. It sounds a little scary. Yeah, it does. I hope Mom and Dad are going to be okay. Well, they'll be fine. Mom's got her big sword. Yeah. It'll be fine. It'll be fine, right, Mr. Bun? Yeah, it'll be fine.
You're gonna continue talking to Mr. Bunn again as these strange noises are coming from downstairs, and Mr. Bunn is trying really hard to keep you calm.
Yeah.
He's doing a semi good job. Semi. But you can probably tell that Mr. Bunn is probably just as scared as you are.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
After some time, after you hear some pretty disturbingly violent things happening downstairs, you start to hear footsteps going up the staircase and coming towards the direction of where your bedroom door is.
He's going to look at the small space, and he's going to slowly climb further and further into the corner. You know, sort of how you get smaller, and trying to be as small as possible, and hugging Mr. Bunn.
You're hugging Mr. Bunn, and it's like time stops. The door creaks open. You don't hear your mother, but you hear heavy breathing. And even as an 8-year-old child, you can tell the difference between the breathing of your parents and the breathing of someone completely foreign, who does not belong in your room, who has no business being in your room. You can hear things being toppled over in your bedroom. You can hear furniture sliding, scratching across the wooden floor. And it just keeps getting closer and closer. And there's a moment where I'm going to say that the side area that you're at in your house, you're probably up against the wall right by where your bedside is. And you can feel the vibrations of the bed just moving right behind you. And whoever is in your room, if the wall wasn't there, could probably reach right through and grab you right now. And you're just there, and you're just kind of clutching on to Mr. Bunn, and you're sort of like rocking back and forth. And all of the little hairs start spiking up and down your arm. And you just feel this chill. And you have to keep reminding yourself to breathe, but not too loud. You have to remind yourself to take a breath. Exhale slowly, because maybe they won't find you. And you start counting your breaths, because that's the only thing that you can do to keep yourself focused at this point. Again, there's no sign of your parents. You have no idea what's been going on. You've heard all of these things downstairs, and you have so many questions and zero answers. And now there's this strange person in your room. You can hear the sound of leaves crunching, because I'm sure that you were probably ripping up some old leaves, doing your chlorophyll experiments earlier that afternoon. And they're just crunching. And normally, the sound of crunching leaves probably was pleasant to you, but for whatever reason, tonight of all nights, it almost sounds like nails scratching against a chalkboard to you. Grating. And the sound kind of doesn't go through your ears, it goes through the very blood pumping through your veins. And suddenly, that's when you hear the door to your closet creak open.
He's gonna jump a little bit inside and then look at Mr. Bunn. Be like, he's trying to be as silent as possible, but everything inside of him is rejecting this. It can't be happening. Where's his parents? What's going on? He's rocking back and forth, but he suddenly realizes he has to stop before it makes any noise. He can't move. The fear is gripping him tighter than any bounds could
You try really hard to control your breathing, and by this point you feel like you've got it. You feel like you've gotten your breathing to the point that it is almost indiscernible. But the one thing that you can't control is your heartbeat, because your heart just keeps pumping faster and faster and faster. And try as hard as you might, it feels like the harder you try to control your heartbeat, the faster and louder it pounds. Almost like it's deafening to you in your rooms. And you can't imagine, how is this person not finding me right now with as much as your heart is pumping almost right out of your chest, almost as if it could pump right in through to Mr. Bunn's chest itself. And whoever is in your closet is rummaging and rummaging, almost like they're looking for someone or something. And then the noise in your closet stops, and you hear footsteps starting to leave your room. Do you do anything?
He's thinking in his mind, please just go away a little bit more. Just leave me alone. It's almost over. Mom will come back. It'll be fine. And rejoicing in the idea of him, of whatever it is, just leaving.
Roll me a magic roll, Leon.
Oh boy.
And also, can I just do a quick reaction of
Yeah, the first one. I'll take the first one.
Yeah.
15. Leon, you are so terrified that there is a crack, almost like the crack of thunder, that shoots out from your fingertips and hits the side of the wall. And the person who was leaving your room stops, their footsteps stop.